Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 27th, 2021 Arizona Board of Pharmacy Complaint Review Committee. My name is Lori Walmsley, and I am the board chair. Dr. Gandhi, it's now 8:30 a.m. Can you please take a roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Walmsley?
Here.
Ms. Nair?
Here.
Mr. Minkus?
Here.
The Madam Chair was informed this morning that Mr. Dang will not be present. I'm going to try to reach out to other board members. As I understand, you have multiple recusals that if someone's prepared to jump in with your permission, I can allow them to do that.
Yes, that's fine, as long as they're fully prepared to participate in the meeting. Otherwise, we'll just table those matters if there are any recusals on those items.
Sure. I also have one announcement on the agenda, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes, please.
Item 4R, I'm pulling that. We got additional information yesterday, so we're going to have to further review that agenda item.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Gundy. I have submitted my declarations of conflict recusals for the record. Ms. Galvin, would you like me to read them or just note them as we go along in the agenda?
Easier for you.
I'm sorry?
Whatever is easier for you.
I can just note them as we go along. Dr. Gandhi, can you find out if we have any additional recusals?
Certainly. Ms. Nair?
Yes, I have 4Q, which is 21-0087.
Okay. Mr. Minkus?
None.
All right. Given our absence of our other committee member, to give Dr. Gandhi some time to potentially look for an alternate board member, I will pull the recusals to the end of the meeting. So we'll skip over the items that are being recused. I'll note those as we go, and we can come back to them. And then if not, we'll just table them as a group at the end. Does that sound acceptable to the group?
I think that's perfect.
Hey, I have a question though. Why was 4R pulled?
I got additional information yesterday. We haven't had a chance to review it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Moving on with the agenda. Do we need to approve the meeting minutes from our last? I'm sorry, no, we don't need to approve those. Doesn't look like. So item 4A, complaint number 21-0059, licensee failed to report a charge within 10 working days.
So we don't have a narrative or explanation or result of the trial from what I could see. Do we have any more information about it?
So Aaron,
Board staff.
This is Jennifer. Not that I see.
Given that this looks like it was this person's first circumstance, and they did comply with the subpoena, I think typically we would issue a $250 fine for failure to disclose.
And second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item B is, we'll table that one till later. I have a recusal there. Item 4C, complaint number 21-0061, licensee failed to report charges within 10 working days.
We don't have the results of the court date. Is that something that we should wait for? or the lab work. Was this person prescribed the medication that they were taking? That wasn't clear on that.
I believe so, based on the records that were included.
It does look like that person is going through a diversion program. So there may not be any final documents until diversion is completed. Is that what you were asking for?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
This appears to me to be her first DUI. Again, it doesn't look like there was any type of diversion. She at least has a prescription for these, or at least they appear to be in her profile, from what I could tell. So I would be in favor of doing a $250 fine for failure to disclose.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Items 4D, 4E, and 4F, I will move towards the end of the meeting due to my recusals. Item 4G, complaint number 21-0077. A CMG DME supplier relocated and failed to provide 30 days notice to the board staff prior to the move.
I was curious, how have we handled this in the past? I know this has come up before, but I didn't remember how we've handled this.
We have typically fined them, I believe, about $1,000 for failure to notify the board.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Gandhi. We've had issues with the manager of this facility, I believe, with another permit.
Let me pull that up here, Madam Chair.
I believe he's been before us before.
Yes, we have
For
had
similar
Mr.
issues.
Hamlick, yes. That's correct.
So I would
And
be in
we-
favor of, go ahead.
We don't have information of where they're relocating, right? It says
They
boards-
they had relocated to 15150 West Hayden versus the address that's on the top under the permit.
What were you gonna say you're in favor of?
Of the fine, although there is a note here from the compliance officer that we've still not received the written notification. Is that still the case?
That's
We
what I
did
was
receive
referring.
notification on the 16th of March.
You did receive it on the 16th.
Correct. It was after the writing of this report.
Okay. I would be in favor of doing a consent agreement with a fine similar to what we've done in the past. So if it's $1,000, I think that that's the appropriate step.
I would second that.
Any further discussion?
Pretty strong fine. I think half that would be more than enough, but
I'm okay with that.
I think.
I just would want to
Gandhi?
be consistent.
Yeah, Dr. Gandhi, can you confirm what we've done in the past?
Historically, we have done $1,000 fine for failure to notify the board.
I would be in favor of the consistency with it.
Yeah, I agree.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. 4H, I am recused from, so we will hold that one for later. 4I is complaint number 21-0018. Complainant alleged the pharmacy incorrectly filled a prescription. Board
Yeah,
members, any discussion?
I was thinking 6 hours of CE for the technician and the pharmacist.
6 hours each? That seems a little steep to me.
Does to
I think
me.
we normally do 3.
3's good. That's fine.
What
To me,
area?
this looks like a filling error to me. Yes, that was a compounded preparation, but they pulled a stock compound, if you will, from the filling, and it looks like they have made some improvements in terms of like their warning systems and those kinds of things. But I think CE would be potentially a good idea. They could perhaps get some additional ideas. What are you thinking for content area, Kristen?
Hey,
Either in compounding or error prevention.
I think error prevention is more appropriate personally based on the type of error that it is.
I'm good with that. So 3 hours CE beyond what's required to be done in 90 days in error prevention,
For who?
the tech and the pharmacist.
Is this non-disciplinary?
Yes.
And if not signed, hearing?
Yes.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, item 4J, 21-0518, prescriptions identified with invalid or missing fax identifiers.
I'd like to have a conference on this.
I agree with you. I feel like the statements from the pharmacist and the company are kind of conflicting, and I had some questions about it. So that was my thought as well.
Pam,
We're good.
did we not draft a consent agreement on this? I thought there was a civil penalty and a surrender.
No, they're in the board book, under this complaint.
So there is a consent agreement, Jennifer?
Sorry, yes, ma'am. 2.
Okay.
One for the PIC and one for the pharmacy. Should be in the
So-
book.
Okay, I don't remember seeing that. Okay, so it was
I don't remember seeing it either.
for a surrender of their license?
Uh,
Trying to find the page.
Yeah.
They were added late.
Looks like the PIC, that one's on 485, a probation and a civil penalty. And a voluntary surrender for the pharmacy starting on page 481
Thanks, Seth
with a civil penalty with the surrender.
and Jennifer.
It's like it's for the pharmacy, it's a voluntary surrender with a $25,000 civil penalty. And a $1,000 civil penalty and probation for the PIC. That's a 2-year probation.
And these were already agreed to.
Looks like it. Yeah, the PIC signed theirs. And the pharmacy signed theirs. Yeah, they both signed.
I believe they're represented by Can you help me out?
Roger Morris.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I believe Cam had reached out to them, or they reached out to Cam to settle this.
Okay.
Okay. So our
So then
recommendation would be to accept
Yeah.
their consent.
If you are satisfied with the terms.
Yeah, I am. I would say my recommendation is to accept. That's my motion. Accept the consent
Consent agreements, there's two, yes.
agreements. Yeah.
I would second that. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? All right, item 4K, I am recused from. Item 4L, 21-0028. A patient alleged that the pharmacy transferred his prescription without authorization.
My thought on this is to dismiss.
Second.
I agree, there's no violations here.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 4M, complaint number 20-0436. A pharmacy allegedly sold a Sue prescription with a shortage of tablets.
Move to dismiss.
Same, second.
Agreed.
There's just
there were
not
no
enough
violations.
evidence. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no violations that were found.
right.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 4N, complaint number 20-0536. Patient alleged that the pharmacist incorrectly refused to fill a non-controlled substance prescription because it was not written on prescription paper.
Move to dismiss.
Second.
Agreed. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 4O, complaint number 20-0480. A pharmacy failed to report to the CSPMP database.
I was thinking a letter of concern.
That's what I was thinking too, because it looks like it was not necessarily dispensings that they were failing to report. It was
Zeros.
the zero reports. So
Right.
I don't see that there was the potential for patient harm here. I think it might have been a lack of understanding. So a letter of concern, I think, would be appropriate here.
That's my
Any
motion.
further? Okay, I'll second that. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 4P, complaint number 21-0068. Patient alleged that the pharmacist filled a Narcan prescription with his pain medications, and when the caregiver picked up the prescription, she was told that it was free, and if not, to give it to a patient, to a neighbor if the patient did not want it.
I move to dismiss.
Second.
Agreed. The pharmacy received a prescription. It was a patient's agent that picked it up, so I don't really see that there was any violations with this. Any further discussion on this one? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, item 4Q, I am recused from. Item 4R was pulled by Dr. Gandhi. Item 4S.
Wait, 4Q, 4Q,
Oh,
you're
I'm
not
sorry,
recused.
that's your recusal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just made my note was not clear there. Item
Yeah,
4R is pulled. Item 4S, I am recused from. Moving on to item 4T, complaint number 21-0085. The patient alleged that the pharmacy filled her prescription incorrectly with an injectable oil base to which she is allergic.
Yeah. Who was is Sharon on the phone? Yeah, Sharon, I'm just curious. it mentions an agent. Is that not a licensed person that was called the agent in this complaint?
It is not.
Okay. That's what I assumed.
I do think that the pharmacy had a good corrective plan. I mean, granted, it is concerning that that the allergy was missed. I don't know that every pharmacy system would even have the ability to document the base of sesame oil that would be the problem. So I am concerned because it is an allergy and it did get to the patient. So I was kind of leaning towards a letter of concern to the permit holder on this one.
Yeah, you know what really stuck out to me is the statement that the pharmacist assumed that an allergy was okay. They looked at and knew that the person was allergic to it and thought it was okay because they'd been put it on file only, on hold, or whatever you want to call it. That was
I
troubling.
missed that. If that's the case, perhaps CE for the pharmacist that was involved.
I believe that the pharmacist that was involved with that, this was done through shared services, and I do not believe that they are licensed in Arizona.
Okay.
Gosh, okay. It's hard to figure out who to hold responsible if they're not in our state, I guess.
Well, we could always refer it to their home state too, if we felt that it was egregious enough. I don't know in this particular case if I
don't know. I take allergies very serious. You never know what kind of reaction.
Would a conference help as far as what the thinking was or the why of it?
Perhaps. Yeah, perhaps to hear from the pharmacist why they thought it wasn't a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's.
We would still have jurisdiction to call the pharmacist even if they weren't licensed in the state, right, to respond to the complaint?
As far as helping you gather information, yes, whether you don't have any hold on him as far as requiring him to appear, but because it's virtual, maybe he could do that without too much interruption.
Okay, I would be all right with that then. So motion for a conference?
Yes, I would. Is that your motion? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Item 4U, complaint number 20-0409, complainant alleged unsafe compounding practices.
So the question is if we want to honor the request for the full board to read this or to discuss this. I'm prepared to make a recommendation, but I didn't know if you wanted to hold off and wait for the full board to discuss.
Actually, you've already had a
ahead.
couple of files there where it was an ED dismissal. They requested full review, and you've already moved to dismiss. So if you're looking at possibly having the full board review, you may want to go back to those others to determine if you want to do that there as well. I think that was 4M and 4N were kind of similar situations.
My personal opinion is, you know, we've reviewed this as a committee, so I don't see that it's any different than how we would handle a normal complaint. Given the fact that there was a satisfactory inspection and our compliance officers didn't find anything, I would be in favor of standing with the dismissal, is my personal opinion.
I would second that.
I agree with you.
Thank you. All those
Madam
in
Chair,
favor?
Madam Chair, before the vote, just let you know we have the person that filed a complaint in the boardroom in case you have questions.
I don't have any further questions. Does the person that filed the complaint have anything new that's not included in the packet to discuss? Only new information that I feel like would be necessary to be heard. We've already reviewed everything else that's been submitted.
And to amend what I said, the full board will read this. So
yeah,
that is
absolutely
honoring that request. Yeah.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to dismiss.
Madam Chair, one moment, please.
I think they're getting her set up.
No, I had Crystal set up the computer.
She did, and the gal thinks that you told her just to show up in case they have questions, but she's just, and now there's no.
I would allow her to speak, if that's okay.
Can you have her just walk up here? Hang on. Yeah, set her up and I'll talk to her. If you want to see it, or if you have any questions or something.
Oh, I don't want to be on camera.
I can turn off the camera.
So we just told the board members that you were here, I think that was it, right?
Yeah, I think Dean said allow her to speak. So that's
Yeah.
Madam Chair, we did set up the computer. Ms. De Leon, she's available.
Thank you. Ma'am, can you please introduce yourself for the record?
Can we use initials, please?
Certainly.
Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm a little confused about what's going on. So I was under the impression that you guys were going to review Mr. Gandhi's decision to dismiss the whistleblower complaint. Is that right?
Yes, we have read your response and the complaint.
So, ma'am, this is a committee of the full board. This is not the full board. This committee reviews all complaints or concerns that are filed with the board, and then they make a recommendation to the full board that will be considered at the May 5th and 6th meeting. What you are hearing now is the committee's recommendation on your request that the board review the complaint that was dismissed by the board's executive director. What you heard a couple minutes ago is that a majority of the committee or all of the committee members have reviewed that case and are making a recommendation to the full board they will review it, and then this committee is recommending to the full board that it uphold the dismissal. So the entire board is going to still look at your complaint, and then decide if they are going to uphold this committee's recommendation to uphold the executive director's dismissal of the complaint.
Okay. Thank
And
you,
they
Ms.
just
Galvin.
want to know if you have anything that you want to add before they take a vote on their recommendation to uphold the executive director's dismissal. The final decision will be made by the full board next week.
No, I'm just here to observe, like I said.
Okay, if you don't have anything else to add, then the board or this committee will then take a vote on its recommendation.
Okay, hearing that we don't have anything additional from the complainant, the motion on the floor was to uphold the decision of dismissal. Any further discussion? All those
Not for
in
me, no.
favor? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Appreciate your time today. And we will review this again, as Ms. Galvin mentioned, our meeting next week.
Okay, thank you.
And you can, if you want to attend next week's meeting, staff will give you the information. Again, you can come down and appear personally, or you can appear virtually.
Okay. Yeah, well, I have the federal senators involved in right now. Like I said, I was just here to kind of get an idea about what the board does with these types of complaints.
Okay, and if you have additional questions, just let Dr. Gandhi know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, committee members, item 4V as in Victor, complaint number 21-0070. A pharmacy permittee was allowed a certified pharmacy technician to work prior to the board issuing her a technician license or a temporary emergency authorization to work. So looking at this one, my read of it is that this individual worked for roughly 9 days without a license. There appears to be some confusion, at least on the part of the technician, about the emergency license process with the passport and those kinds of things. My thought process here was potentially a letter of concern to the technician, and then our customary fine per day to the permit holder.
Ms. Walmsley,
Yes.
this is Jennifer. So this complaint, the respondent for this complaint is the permit holder. The technician is not listed as a respondent because she does not, her application for licensure is to be considered separately.
Oh, I forgot that's in this meeting too.
Yeah, it's on 23A.
Okay. So really the item is really just for the permit holder then.
And then the next one's for the pick,
That's correct.
right? Yeah. How do you feel about for 4B, a letter of concern to the permit holder and a letter of concern to the pick on 4W? Do you want to do a letter of concern to both? The only reason why I'm thinking that way is it sounds like communication was confusing, and but our board has communicated that they shouldn't have allowed it to happen, and it did proceed. So
I agree that I think that there was probably some confusion here, although we did make a very concerted effort to make sure that the public was engaged through the public health emergency with the COVID task forces, as well as the FAQs and all those kinds of things. And I know a number of licensees reached out to the staff and provided guidance. So while I am sympathetic to the confusion that's out there, I don't know that I think it's that different than some of the other circumstances where we have people that work on expired licenses either. The kind of the same type of thing, although this person at least was licensed in another state, which wouldn't necessarily be the case with an expired license. So I think that there are some differences there too.
I agree.
I'm kind of torn between the letter of concern and the typical fine.
I think a letter of concern would be more than enough. I don't think we have
On both?
On both.
On both?
On both.
Okay. Kristen, that was your thought process too?
Yeah.
Okay. So do I have a motion?
A letter of I make a motion to do a letter of concern for 4V to the permit holder and a letter of concern for 4W to the pick.
Second.
I don't know. I almost feel like we need to take this to the full board.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Or wait, you do have a motion and a second, so we,
Yeah,
you can
yeah, we need to
always,
vote on it.
Ms. Wells, you can always vote against it, and
Yeah, I
then
know.
the full board can consider it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Nay for me.
Yeah, you can ask to have it pulled.
Yeah,
During
my
the
motion would be to I guess, yeah, let's do that. So let's move forward with the same motion then, I guess.
Okay.
Or the motion can just be to have the full board review it too.
Well, Madam Chair, Ms.
Yes.
Galvin, didn't the motion pass 2-1?
It did. 2-1.
So that is the recommendation.
Okay.
But with
Okay.
reservation, I guess you can add with reservation if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, and I can always ask to pull it too. Okay, that's good. So that was item for
V and W.
V and W. So letter of concern to both.
Mhm.
Item 4X, 21-0072, the pharmacy board office opened a complaint after receiving information that a technician may have worked on an expired license. Additionally, it was noted that the technician had not updated her employment history with the board.
But she ended up not working, right? It was training days. Just observation.
That was what is represented. I don't know if you want to interview her to see what she has to say.
We don't have a statement from the technician, correct?
I don't recall one.
I don't recall seeing one either. Thoughts on this one? This is another one with a emergency license, it looks like, and this is the same company as was in the prior complaint.
Yeah.
This is Sandy. Can I add some information that might help you?
Yes,
Sure.
yes, Ms. Outcliffe, please.
There were 4 days in question for this particular technician, 3 of which were online training. So I really only had the 4th day to consider, and they indicated that that was observational. So what I did is I pulled all of the information from the pharmacy where there would be electronic tracking for the functions that she would have observed on that date. Her initials and identity was not associated with any of those activities that I could find. So nothing in regards to the Pyxis carousel or the Pyxis filling or the unit dose packaging for that day, which is what she would have observed.
So I think what we typically find is practicing without a license, and they did not do anything that would require a license.
I did not find anything that she was involved with for those 4 days that would have required a technician license, no.
I'm leaning towards dismissal on it.
Second.
Well, I have a motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries for dismissal. Item 4Y, 4Z, and 4AA, I am recused from. Item 4AB, complaint number 21-0143. Licensee disclosed disciplinary action by a professional board in another state.
I have several questions. One is this person has now entered into PAPA, but not under us, so we wouldn't have visibility to it. Is that correct?
So my understanding is that because his discipline in the other state is public, we do have some visibility, but Cam might have some additional information to add to that.
Well, not even just visibility, also he would have the option to quit at any time. There's not a set date that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely, Madam Chair, there's definitely a concern that a severe action was taken in another state. And seems like before that action was published, he relocated to Arizona to resume his pharmacy functions and then joined PAPA. So it is kind of alarming that he was able to do that prior to that revocation being posted in another state.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that that discipline was revocation, so that is a very severe form of discipline. I was kind of leaning towards mirroring what our normal compliance circumstance is: 5-year probation. 5-year probation, and then to comply with the terms of the PAPA agreement, and make him a monitored participant. Although I don't know if we need to have an evaluation done before that. They're based on the discipline in the other state. I'd be open to other suggestions.
Do you remember what kind of evaluation was done in the other state? I was trying to remember that.
Do you want the committee to go have legal advice?
Sure.
Yes, I'll make a motion for executive session.
Second, for legal advice.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Minkus?
Hi.
Okay. Looks like we have everyone back. All right, back to discussion on item 4AB, the licensee disclosed disciplinary action in another state. Based on the significance of the action in the other state and the information provided in the evaluation from our board-approved evaluator, I think this warrants discussion for the full board is kind of where my head is at this point.
I agree.
So I'll make that my motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 4AC, 21-0075. Licensee had felony drug charges, failed to provide police reports related to the criminal charge, and failed to comply timely with an interim order for substance use testing and to update the board with employment information. So just to recap, we did issue an order for a substance use evaluation, and this individual failed to comply.
We did.
I'm sorry.
You're correct. We did issue an order. He did not comply timely.
And still has not complied, correct?
The dates on the
It was 2020 instead of 2021. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And when I inquired about that discrepancy, he to date has not provided any evidence to explain that discrepancy.
So I would say a conference on this one.
Mr. Minkus, thoughts?
I agree with Kristen. Conference. I don't know what else to do.
I was kind of thinking hearing.
Hearing. Yeah, I was going back and forth between those two. I would be okay with proceeding to a hearing.
We'll still give it.
I'm
it'll
okay
still
with that.
it'll still give him the opportunity to be heard if he wants to participate in the discussion, and we can take that into account at that point. But if he's not willing to participate and provide the additional information, at least it gives us the opportunity to move forward without waiting another couple months. Is kind of my thought.
I agree.
I like that.
So my motion is to move forward for hearing. So
Second.
second. Is this one a roll call since it's hearing?
No, because you're making a
Committee.
recommendation when the board
Okay.
votes on it, they'd have to do a roll call.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 4AD, patient alleged that the pharmacy was closed when she attempted to pick up her prescription.
So have we had any cases like this in the past?
There are no violations here, so I would be in favor of just dismissal with it.
Second.
Things happen.
I
Things
still have a
happen.
problem with there being no notice. And if we're concerned about patient safety, that's concerning to me.
Things happen though. People get sick, all those kinds of things, and sometimes those are outside of the control of the licensee or the permittee. I don't know that I think it's fair to say that this is a small pharmacy that probably doesn't have a lot of other options to call people in. Yes, there should be something posted, but I don't think it was an intentional situation, and there are no violations. So I would be in favor of dismissal.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Dr. Gandhi, you've reached out to all the other board members, and people are either not available or not prepared to participate in the discussion. So Kristen, do you have my list of recusals and potentially want to run through those so that way we can just make a motion on those, and then I'll take the motion for yours? Or do we need to not even do anything, Jean, since we don't have a quorum?
Yeah, you don't have a quorum, so they're just going to move automatically.
Okay, so items 4B, 4D, 4E, 4F, 4H, 4K, 4Q for Kristen, 4R was tabled by Dr. Gandhi, 4S, 4Y, 4Z, and 4AA are tabled for the full board. Let's see. I think that brings us to the end of our business items. Our next board meeting is next week, Wednesday and Thursday. The meeting following this will be in July. At this point, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, guys.
Have a great day, everybody.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.